New things are invented all the time, but few actually turn out to be groundbreaking inventions. The kind of inventions that change the way we live, such as the light bulb, the telephone, the vacuum cleaner, and the internet, to name a few. Often it takes famous inventors multiple attempts before they invent anything particularly interesting. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 of the most mysterious and interesting inventions. Thomas Edison's spirit phone. Thomas Edison, famous for the invention of the light bulb, he also played an important part in the development of the motion picture camera. However, besides being the driving force behind these spectacular innovations, he was also embroiled in some fairly dark goings-on. In the 1920s, the world was obsessed with the idea of the afterlife. Harnessing this fascination, Edison announced that he wanted to invent a device called the spirit phone. The spirit phone was supposed to do exactly what was said on the tin. It was a phone that would allow the living to communicate with spirits. Edison himself was an agnostic, meaning he stood by the belief that since he didn't know for certain of the existence of God or a higher spirit, he couldn't believe in them. However, after allegedly corresponding with British inventor Sir William Crookes, who claimed to have captured images of spirits in special spirit photographs, Edison began to work on his idea. Some people believe that he was simply joking about the spirit phone, despite stating in several interviews with newspapers as well respected as the New York Times that he was attempting to construct this phone. He told the New York Times that his machine would measure what he described as the life units that scatter through the universe after death. Essentially, Edison was trying to combine faith with science, something that seldom works. Edison believed that his machine would be able to detect spirits and their individual personalities, allowing him to relay messages through those personalities. He also believed that his invention could explain why certain people are more intelligent than others, or why they have different moral codes. However, when Thomas Edison died in 1931, no evidence about his spirit phone was ever found. The spirit phone would have been one of Edison's later inventions, so could it be possible that Edison felt he had unfinished business and would need to communicate with the living once he was gone? It's often said that the reason Edison was such a great inventor was due to it being impossible to convince him that there were any limits to what he could do. This attitude clearly served Edison well on a number of occasions, but it appears contacting the dead might just have been a little too far out of his capacity. Stories do exist of psychics claiming that Edison did manage to contact them after he died, as if he'd taken his spirit phone too. However, these claims were never validated, and to this day, the spirit phone remains very much a figment of a great mind's vivid imagination. Thomas Edison's talking doll. The next Thomas Edison invention isn't quite as groundbreaking as the spirit phone, but in many ways is equally as creepy. The doll had been a staple play toy in children's lives since ancient times, and in the 1890s, dolls were some of the only toys available to children to entertain themselves with. In 1877, Edison made history. He invented the phonograph. This was the first ever machine to produce a recorded sound that could then be played back. It didn't break the literal sound barrier, but it was a truly huge invention in the history of science. Edison, however, wanted to take his invention a step further, and commercialise it to the nation's most beloved children's toy, the doll. After consulting with the creator of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, over the technological aspects of the product, Edison set to work on the doll in early April 1890. Each doll that he created was 22 inches tall, weighed around 4 pounds, and featured a trademark porcelain head and wooden limbs. Edison placed a miniature model of the phonograph in the doll's torso. It played nursery rhymes such as Mary Had a Little Lamb and Jack and Jill, which became the sounds of Edison's talking doll. Unfortunately, once the dolls had left the production line, the complaints began. The doll itself had a rather disturbing appearance, so much so that it was called Thomas Edison's creepiest invention. Parts would regularly fall off, and financially, the doll was a failure. Only a few weeks after launching the toy, Edison withdrew the product from the market. No matter how much Edison improved the doll, it still wouldn't sell. The retail cost of between $10 and $20 just simply wasn't viable at the time. By October of 1890, Edison's doll company had fallen into debt of $50,000. Despite the failure of this particular invention, Thomas Edison was a fine inventor who undoubtedly revolutionized the lives of many. Some say he was simply ahead of his time, which is partially the point of inventors in many ways. But as far as Edison's talking doll is concerned, it seemed like his toy venture was another step too far. Nikola Tesla's oscillator. Nikola Tesla was a pioneer in the field of electricity and mechanics. His surname Tesla is now used in the SI unit system as a unit of magnetic flux density. Tesla is best known for his contribution to the design of the AC and DC current system in electrical supply systems, but today we're looking at one of his lesser known works. He was an extremely intriguing man. As well as his famous inventions in the field of electrical engineering, he was also known to be involved in some stranger projects, being credited with works involving UFO communication, death rays, and even instruments which created earthquakes. An oscillator is an instrument that produces a wave without any input. It converts conventional direct current, the type of current that works in a battery, into an alternating waveform of a desired frequency. Tesla wanted to create the oscillator that could be powered only by steam pressure. On a domestic level, his oscillator could power massage chairs or even timers on clocks. But he wanted his oscillator to be used on a bigger and a far more important scale than just massage chairs. By 1887, Tesla had made the first version of his oscillator. It was small enough to fit inside of a coat pocket, but the power it produced was truly immense. One night, in 1898, he went looking for a half-erect steel building that would have had open steel girders. He found one in the Wall Street district of New York and attached his oscillator to a single beam. Suddenly, the entire structure began to shake. It was producing an immense amount of energy, and the creaking half-building began to swing in the dark black sky. Onlookers noticed the strange earthquake-like event and in a panic called the police. When they arrived, he had left with his oscillator, and apart from a few girders on the floor, there was no evidence to suggest any such event had happened. But Tesla's oscillator had worked, and it was dangerous. In fact, according to scientists today, had he left this machine on for only a few more minutes, the entire structure would have collapsed. Modern-day analysis on the oscillator shows the machine had the power to pull down the entire Brooklyn Bridge into the East River in less than an hour. Now this invention is seen as a weapon of destruction. But Tesla wasn't interested in creating havoc. He was interested in advancing science. Nikola Tesla managed to match the Earth's natural frequency with the frequency of his oscillator, and he could have created an earthquake. Scientifically speaking, it wouldn't be the oscillator that caused such earthquake, but rather the oscillator would cause a build-up of energy underground, which could snap at any minute. Nikola Tesla was an amazing inventor, but it might be for the best that he didn't take his oscillator experiments any further. Arguably, the world we live in today wouldn't be able to continue to support life if it wasn't for the genius of some of our most famous inventors. Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla did groundbreaking things. Some of their inventions and experiments were amazingly intelligent, and others were a little mad. So what do you make of these interesting inventions? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.